got a 3.3 pound beef bottom round, a couple onions, got some bone broth that we just prepped last night, got some rice that we're about to cook real quick, and we got the Dutch oven. We're also going to bake it over there. Now to turn the phone over to far right Latina girlfriend. What's up, everybody? We're also going to talk through WNBA salaries, female sports salaries, and of course Title IX. Okay, let's start with step number one. We're going to begin slicing the onion and dicing the onion. We are going to do that in parallel. Actually, I changed my mind. Step number one, we're going to season the beef. We're going to get our salt, going to coat it on all sides. And we're also going to add pepper while we do this. Okay, so topic for today is female sports salaries. This topic is near and dear to me because I was a Division I athlete before the NIH came into, or NIL, or whatever you call it, NIH, I'm thinking about Fauci. The NIL came into play. Not that I would have been compensated had that been a possibility, because I was not an elite baseball player who would have commanded that type of money, but I'm familiar with how college athletes have been compensated over the years and how that compares to female athletes, how that compares to revenue generated, hours put in, all that stuff. And so let me explain to you how sports compensation typically works. So you have the headline stars. They make millions of dollars, right? This is true with basically any entertainment industry, is the headline stars will make millions of dollars. That means they need to be headline and they need to be stars, meaning millions of people need to be interested in what they're doing. I'm not sure that you could say that for any female basketball players at the moment. I'm not sure that there are millions of people who are interested in what they're doing. So at the very
Except
best,
for Caitlin Clark.
Except for Caitlin Clark right now. But the question is anybody going to be caring what Caitlin Clark is doing in 6 months?
I think so.
Okay, well, if people are going to be caring what Caitlin Clark is doing in 6 months, then are they going to be watching her games, do you think?
I think the season tickets for the Fevers, like they're selling.
Okay. Well, that would be interesting if they were.
Her jersey was the fastest selling jersey of any collegiate athlete going pro in, I think, what is it, Fanatics history? Is that what it's called?
Okay. Okay, so if that's the case, then what the WNBA would need to do, or what the Players Association and the WNBA would need to do, is renegotiate how their superstars are compensated, because I doubt anybody watching this could name a second player in the WNBA. And so, what this is essentially saying is that there's one player in the WNBA who should deserve probably the same compensation as every other player in the WNBA combined. Unfortunately, it's a little bit hard to I guess she personally could go on strike. She could decide, I'm not playing. Unless I get paid what everybody else is getting paid combined. What everybody else is getting paid combined might be like $10 million total. The salaries are not spectacular, to say the least, in the WNBA. I think Caitlin Clark's contract is going to cost like $70,000 a year, because that's what her slot makes in the draft. And so, generally speaking, it is possible, I will allow for the possibility that she is undercompensated relative. Do we know why there's liquid coming from this onion? Is this a normal thing, or is this just from the knife? It smells normal. It's just one. Okay.
I think we should have a bigger cutting board under the meat and stuff too.
Okay. Just trying to save you some cleanup. Do that. All right. So, typically within female sports, yes, the women make less money than the men. Typically, there's far less attention on women's sports. Actually, collegiate basketball is a sport where women actually do get a decent amount of attention. Why is there liquid coming from the onion? Is this a normal thing? I don't think I've ever seen this before. Let's cut the other onion. We'll see if this is a normal thing. liquid is not coming from the other onion. I'm not sure if I trust an onion that liquid is coming from it. It's probably completely safe. It smells fine. Your nose tends to be the best indicator of if something like that is okay. But I don't trust it. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this onion with a different onion. And we're going to dice up the other onion. We're going to dice up onion number 2 and use that as onion number 1. I'm crying because the topic du jour is so emotionally relevant to me that I can't possibly talk about collegiate sports compensation without a tear or multiple tears coming to my eyes. Either that or I have a lot of chopped up onions in front of me. I'll leave that for you to decide. But most female athletes are actually highly overcompensated, and that is due to Title IX. Title IX was not actually intended to be applied to sports when it was written. That would have seemed so preposterous to those writing it when Congress was going ham on all of these equal rights amendments, legislations. Equal rights amendment never actually passed, but equal rights legislation was a big thing in the 70s. It's not just now. And equal rights in the 70s when Title IX was written meant, okay, if you're going to have boys who have access to a chemistry program, you should probably have girls who have access to the chemistry program too. Seems logical, sensible. But what the feminists figured out is, we can actually make this apply to sports. And so if you are dedicating 10 scholarships to male basketball, then you should probably be dedicating 10 scholarships to female basketball, or how it's actually interpreted is just male sports versus female sports. This was before the transgender fad became a thing, and so obviously nobody was talking about that at the time. And so the way this is relevant, though, is sports cost schools money, and so if it's not, it doesn't count. It doesn't matter that male sports bring in more revenue to offset the costs compared to female sports. So you can have a football program that is bringing in, in the case of, say, Michigan or Alabama, like tens of millions of dollars, or if not like hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue per year. That doesn't count. So it doesn't matter that these athletes generate all this revenue. Their scholarships count the same as far as Title IX goes. So it doesn't matter, you can have female softball that very few people watch and pay money to support, and you can have male football. And the scholarships between female athletes and male athletes need to net out. Now, that might make sense. It might make sense at the Division III level. I don't even know if there's scholarships at the Division III level. It might even make sense. It might even make sense at lower non-monetizing sports, right? But when you're talking about football in particular, basketball, and sometimes baseball, these sports have the possibility of making money for the school. And when the sports have the possibility of making money for the school, guess that's not going to go in. The right thing to do would be to count those scholarships differently. To not count it as some freebie benefit that the athletes get. All right, we're going to turn the Dutch oven on. But to actually think about it as a business transaction, which the NIL I think is at the very least starting to ponder, to consider. So, okay, we're going to take a hefty scoop of ghee. We're going to preheat the oven at 270 degrees. We're going to make sure that the rack is warm enough. The onions there. And then while this cooks, we're going to get some more onions that we're going to quarter eventually. That's definitely not a good onion. It's going to get tossed. A lot of these onions are no bueno. All these onions are old and need to get tossed. Some of these onions are probably good. Okay. throwing these out. So what happens when you go on a multi-week trip?
We can sort through that later.
You just bother me so much.
Just leave it there. We'll sort to get back in front of the camera.
Okay. All right, we're gonna see if onion number 2, we're gonna do that and toss these on. Okay, so we got, all right, so we're gonna start throwing these onions on. Put this on low. What a lot of people want to realize about the WNBA is the WNBA is subsidized by the actual NBA. So if it weren't for the NBA and the interest in the NBA, there wouldn't really be that much money to be invested in the WNBA. The WNBA loses money every year.
The season is much shorter too. It's only 4 months.
Season's shorter. Sometimes the players are stuck in Russian jails. Participation challenging.
That was one of them.
I don't actually know anybody who's ever watched an entire WNBA. As far as I'm concerned, maybe it's never happened. I don't know. Has anybody watched an entire WNBA game? I'm sure the athletes are good athletes. As far as I was aware.
Not all of the games are aired, and they're only aired, I think, on like Saturday afternoons or something.
Oh, really? They're not even all on TV?
Yeah.
So this is going to be a little bit challenging, but we're doing this to save time. What we're going to do is we're going to sear the beef bottom round at the same time as we were letting the onions cook. Most instructions say not to do this, but we are very efficient in Chef Alex's kitchen. So we're going to do it. What's going to end up happening is some of the onions are going to get stuck on the bottom. It's going to make it a little bit more challenging to get a good sear in, but it's still going to work. It's still going to work. Okay. So. We're going to start searing this with the fat side down because that's going to generate the most fat for this to continue to cook. And we're just going to continue to mix these around while the whole thing cooks. Okay, while we do this, I'm going to toss paper towels that we're drying out the beef bottom round. And we're going to hope onion number 2 does this better than onion number 1. Nope.
No.
Go back to the drawing board.
We have enough onions.
Oh, we have enough onions for that too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's definitely no way out.
That's enough.
Okay, well, I guess we have enough onions. We may have 2 more onions that are good. I think those 2 might be good. Okay, so where female athletes will ultimately make their money is with sponsorships. And I think we're not that far away from a premier female athlete that's making a lot of money on OnlyFans. I think MMA athletes do that. Do you know how much money MMA women make on OnlyFans? My girlfriend's not an OnlyFans. I was going to say she's an OnlyFans fan. She's an MMA fan.
I know nothing about OnlyFans.
Not know much about OnlyFans. But she does know, curiously, that
Pretty
female
much.
fighters have
Everyone.
OnlyFans accounts. I did not know that, and I would not have known that if she didn't tell me that. But that's going to become more of a thing. I think that we're within 5 years from having the first prominent professional athlete also be a porn star.
I don't think that's necessary.
It doesn't mean that it's necessary. What do you mean it's not necessary?
I think everyone's making a big deal about Caitlin Clark's pay from the WNBA because she's probably one of the highest paid on like Nike's sponsorship
she's
roster.
Getting a lot of money for sponsorships, right?
Like hundreds of millions of dollars.
I don't think people are gonna. So let me clarify what my OnlyFans prediction is. I don't think that the first high-profile athlete with an OnlyFans account is going to do it out of economic need. I think they're going to do it out of attention seeking. And so,
Well, I mean, that's already happening with, not on OnlyFans, but like on Instagram. What's her name? The gymnast from LSU.
right.
She's the highest paid
But she's
collegiate
not.
athlete.
So my girlfriend's talking
No,
about
but she's in her bikini a lot, and
that's very different. So my girlfriend is
Well, that's
equating
what-
the LSU gymnast's Instagram account to being a porn star. And what I would say is like, if OnlyFans were a thing with Dennis Rodman,
but
or-
OnlyFans isn't just porn.
what's that?
OnlyFans isn't just porn; it's photos too.
Sure. But so is Instagram. And so I think there's a subscription Instagram too. And so subscription Instagram should take the market share of photos on the OnlyFans.
But I think they have the algorithm doesn't let you show nipples or something.
The algorithm doesn't like you to.
Yeah, on Instagram, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, but that's exactly. So you can't be nude on Instagram, but you can be nude on OnlyFans. So OnlyFans is the platform where creators who want to be naked are going to go. Okay, the meta point here is that at some point we're going to see Dennis Rodman of 2030, and he's going to have a OnlyFans account. So that's actually not done yet. We're going to keep doing this for about 2 more minutes before we quit. But yeah, Dennis Rodman of 3 years from now, we're having an OnlyFans account because why not? If you don't follow Antonio Brown on Twitter, you should follow Antonio Brown on Twitter. This guy's hilarious. I think that there's a sex tape with him. I'm not sure. And if there's not, there probably will be at some point. Because the guy clearly doesn't give a fuck about anything. And so he's not active in the NFL. Very much doubt he ever will be active in the NFL. But we have, between him and Dennis Rodman, a couple examples of guys who will just kind of do anything, who can't really be controlled, who would most likely do that if the opportunity existed for them at the time. Now, fairly sure like Roger Goodell and some of these commissioners are going to have something to say about it, but there's no rule, as far as I'm aware, yet prohibiting these guys from starting their own OnlyFans accounts. So I'm going to put more.
I think there is though.
Is there?
Well, I don't know. One of the
personal conduct policy to.
I think so because one of the accusers, like the Trevor Bowers accuser, is saying that the reason why the MLB isn't, I guess, hiring him again is because he has a lot of tapes with other women.
Well, but that's not. Trevor Bauer is not suspended by Major League Baseball. Trevor Bauer.
Blacklisted.
Trevor Bauer is blacklisted by individual owners.
But that was taken into consideration when they suspended him. That was part of the reason for the suspension.
Okay.
And the reason for the blacklist.
Yeah. But okay. Trevor Bauer, at the very least, is not. He's not suspended. He's eligible to be signed by a major league team. Perhaps.
No, he's not because of his behavior.
But he has not been signed despite being a prominent and career pitcher, either because of his past behavior or because of his, more likely due to backlash related to his behavior, not exactly behavior, because he never seems to actually care. But he's unsigned after being acquitted from sexual assault.
And criminal charges being brought against one of the accusers.
I didn't know there were multiple accusers, but one of the accusers has criminal charges being brought against her, which is obviously a lying bitch if you follow the case. Clearly plotting with I think
Other women.
Employees or other players to really get Bauer. It was really a bad, unfortunate thing, but
He walked into it though.
don't go choking women
You don't know.
Don't go choking mentally unstable women if you're, now I'm victim blaming. I'm totally victim blaming Trevor Bauer now, but don't go choking mentally unstable women if you want to be a professional athlete. And so, you know, Trevor Bauer is essentially getting Ray Rice treatment, even though he hasn't been found guilty or there's no tapes of him actually assaulting anybody. And so, okay, yes, it is possible that if an athlete decided to create an OnlyFans account, then he would be afraid of that sort of treatment. There's a precedent set for that. I still think that an athlete's going to start an OnlyFans account. Well, you know,
They don't want that. That's how come Dwight Howard isn't in the NBA anymore.
are there videos? So she
There's
says they don't want
videos,
that
yes.
because that's why Dwight Howard's not in the NBA anymore. There's videos of Dwight Howard?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think he had his own.
He had his own what?
He had his own videos. I don't think they've been made public, but yeah, he was.
Well, he's probably also like trying to hook up with teammates too. Probably created a very interesting locker room dynamic. I always joke with my teammates at Vanderbilt. What happens if like we were doing room checks and a coach walked in and like two players were hooking up with each other? That happens on female sports teams. It probably happens on men's sports teams too. It's much more common on female sports teams. So one thing that I learned when I was an athlete at Vanderbilt is talking to the female athletes who were bisexual or lesbian. They would tell me there's
Not real.
all of these dynamics that would go on that we never even thought about on our team. You know, like who's trying to hook up with who's dating who, and so there is a lot of drama that is involved with female sports, at least sometimes, that is not really seen very much at all in my experience in male sports. I don't know, maybe the athletes, the Gen Z athletes now are a little bit more gay or gender fluid or something like that, but at least when I played, that was not a thing. And I strongly suspect it's not a thing right now either. Okay, so we're going to keep that down. We're actually going to try to sear this just a little bit longer. Okay, now we're going to flip it. Keep this thing down. If anybody has any questions, obviously drop them. One thing that's interesting about female athletes, my female athlete friends at Vanderbilt, we talk about coaches, and their coaches never yell at them. Because with male athletes, coaches can be very abusive towards them because the coaches know that those athletes think that they're going to play professionally and they won't quit. Whereas the female athletes tend to be more emotional and they will quit if you yell at them over and over again. And so as far as scholarships awarded for times being yelled at, female athletes have it probably 100 to 1 compared to male athletes. And if you don't believe me, talk to them. I'm not saying what they do is easy, but I am saying that it's probably not the torture that many male athletes experience when they're trying to play at elite level. Right. That's probably due for the flip. All right, so while we're gonna do this, while we let that sear, we're going to bring some bone broth over. We're gonna start cooking the rice. We're going to do about a 50-50 mix between bone broth and water on the rice. So I'm going to start adding some water right now. And then
You should grab a cup, dip it in, and see.
I don't think the cup works, but maybe I should. Okay.
No, like we have measuring cups so looking down there. Yeah.
Okay. And then we're going to check out how creamy this bone broth is. Okay. Got that there. We're going to
Stir it. Here.
stir it. That's 2 cups for those keeping score at home. And we'll cook this for about 27 minutes or so. Go start.
Not plugged in.
Note to self, plug it in before you use it. Okay. Start. Okay, so it is 1:30 Central Time. We're going to be taking this out at about 1:57. Note that.
You need to make sure. Oh my God.
All right. Okay, we got a great sear on one side. Your comment?
Yeah. I love it when couples are in the kitchen together and it's the man who's cooking. Goals.
So there's only one country in the world where the men do more cleaning or more cooking than women, and
They have the best food.
yeah, guess which country it is. I guessed which country it was,
Italy.
and my girlfriend just guessed the country. I don't know if you can hear her. Yeah. So what do you say about that to the feminists? The only country where men cook more than women has the best food.
Well, they say men are better at cooking and women are better at cleaning.
I can see that. Cooking requires a lot of logistical understanding, right? Figuring out how to pair things that go well together, timing of it all. Yeah, I get it. Okay, we're just gonna hold this down because it's a little bit warped on that side, so. All right. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. So we have.
Ow, that burned.
Sorry. Splash zone. Okay. We're gonna do one more side. I flicked a hot onion on my girlfriend accidentally. That's why I yelled splash zone. Oh, I got some grease on her. Give you a Google later. That's grease, huh?
Yeah, kiss.
Well, that's gonna be a scar. One time last year, I got some on my stomach, on my calves, which was very helpful in making sure that it didn't scar. So I'm sure you know probably the same protocol. At least if you get on a face. Okay, so we are Coming
Onions look
near
good.
the end here. I'm gonna try to sear this side a little bit more, just because I think it's gonna be yummier if we do. So that side's done. And sear probably about 45 seconds on that side, about another 30 seconds on the bottom of this side, and then we're going to put bone broth in. No red wine this time. Not too old. We don't want to open up a new bottle. It's going to taste fine with the bone broth. Bone broth is super yummy. It's going to create a nice gravy base. It's going to be awesome. Okay, that's nice. That is about the angle that we want. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to turn the oven off. Got that nice sear. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put the onions at the bottom. We're going to put the fat cap on top. And then we're going to pour some bone broth in there. A little more. It's not going to leave us with too much to drink, unfortunately, but I think we still need a little bit more. Okay. Enough. I should have measured that. That was supposed to be 2 cups, cup and a half. I think that's about right. Let's see.
I think that's more.
More?
Yeah.
Really fine. Okay. Cool. So what we're going to do now, we're going to put the
Use the wooden one. There you go.
We're going to put this in for about 3.5 hours. Right? We do about 1 hour for every pound. This is about 3.3 pounds. It should be about 3 hours and 20 minutes. But we will know it's ready when it is falling off the fork. It's 1:30 right now. We'll be ready at about 4:06. Thank you for tuning in to that. You'll know in a few hours that Chef Alex does not miss. Check back on Friday, every Wednesday and Friday, except when we're out of town, at 2 p.m. Central Time, or 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central Time, here on YouTube.